Hi, my name is Dave Tran, and this is Lux TV, shedding and spreading light for the chiropractic student. We have Dana Pittner calling from Wisconsin. She is a consultant and coach for chiropractors. Dana, welcome to Lux TV.
Well, thank you for having me, soon to be Dr. David Tran.
Oh, I got a couple more months to go, but
Yeah,
we'll
so
see.
that's okay. I love the whole DC2B thing.
Exactly. So let's get straight to it. How did you get involved in chiropractic?
Um, it actually happened a couple years ago, actually more than a couple years ago. I want to take you back actually to when I was 19 years old, my first experience with chiropractic, if you don't mind. I
Sure.
started in chiropractic due to an automobile injury when I was 19. I was rear-ended in a parking lot standing still. And my mom had already been going to a chiropractor for a while. His name was Old Man Rather, which was kind of funny for me. She'd bring home these videos and we'd watch them, or she watched them, and she'd go see them for her carpal tunnel. But when I got rear-ended with the car, my mom had said to me, "You need to go see Old Man Rather." I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. My neck had been killing me. And I went and saw Old Man Rather, and that was my very first experience with chiropractic. When I was 19, I'd seen him for a very short time, and then I was sent on my way.
Hmm.
And I didn't really think about chiropractic again until I was working in a factory called Kohler Company, and I was having a lot of low back issues, and I couldn't really deal with the pain that I was having, and I had always had leg issues and things going on with myself that I thought was the norm. And I decided at that time to see another chiropractor and see him, and I was adjusted with him from low back. And those were my experiences for chiropractic for the very first time. And fast forward like a good 5 years after that, I had had my daughter. I was working in retail after being laid off from Kohler Company, and I applied for a pediatric wellness chiropractic office. And I got interviewed on a Sunday, and I was one out of 125 applicants.
Oh.
He had already hired somebody else, and he decided to take me. And the rest is pretty much history. I went and worked for Dr. David Holtrup. He sent me to training the following weekend, and I just started with chiropractic. I loved and adored the job. I thought it was great. It was easy. It worked for my family, and that's how I got started in chiropractic and what I knew about chiropractic. If you really think about how chiropractic can change your life, it didn't happen with those three working experiences for me. For me, it was a paycheck for a pretty long time until I actually realized the benefits and what it had for myself and my family. So I've been in chiropractic about 20 plus years. Working in chiropractic, it's been about 15. I just love and adore it. And that's how I got started. It's kind of pretty simple, but to me it's a little bit more, as we'll discuss.
Yeah. So what is it about chiropractic that inspires you?
Um, Chiropractic inspires me on a bigger level. I kind of just shared with you from a professional point of view of how I got started in chiropractic. But a personal part of me is inspired. When I was a small child, I was inflicted with a rare blood disease that paralyzed me. And I was hospitalized for just over 2 weeks. I couldn't move or do anything. And from that, I had a lot of leg issues all the way up until I was probably, I'm 39 now, and at least 35. I would have a lot of burning, aching, tingling after the paralyzed state that I thought was normal. I would take naproxen up until I was like 25, 26. It was a muscle relaxer. I was on irritable bowel medicine. I was on depression medicine. I was on natural painkillers until I started working for Dr. Holtrup.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Holtrup, in his report of findings with me, he was the third chiropractor I was at. He took a full analysis of who I was. He checked my spine in a full spine aspect. He said to me, "It's going to take you a really long time to get better. Where you are now it's not going to be gone overnight. And you have to take that and go with it." And I kind of just brushed him off, and I went, whatever. He had been doing great for my kids. I had been seeing him and my burning and my tingling in my legs, and it would get to a state where when I would get out of bed in the morning, I'd have to think before I got out or my legs would collapse. And I'd have to put my feet in ice cold water at times because the pain would be so bad. And I didn't tell a lot of people about the pain I'd have. And if I could have just taken drugs. But a lot of times I just kept going with it. And I worked for him for years, and he'd help my child with ear infections. He'd help my Natalie with her things, and he'd help Jack with his palate issues, and he had, when Jack was born, he had scoliosis, and he had a palate, and he couldn't latch on, and he did all these amazing things. Mm-hmm. And for me, I was just being seen and being taken care of. And I was good. I was taking multivitamins. I hadn't been on drugs, but I still had the leg things occasionally. Mm-hmm. And all that time I had faith in the power of chiropractic, but I didn't really get it. I didn't get it. And I look back now, and if you read in from Up From Below the Bottom, B.J. Palmer talks about they want what we have, they want to get what we have, but they don't get what we have. Mm-hmm. And I get it now. I totally get it. Miraculously, like 2.5 years ago, I decided to want to run a Dirty Girl. And I'd never ran anything. I was an active cheerleader, and whenever I did any events, I would always have to think mentally about what I was doing, and I'd have to prepare myself. And 2 years ago, I ran for a Dirty Girl, and I ran the whole thing, and I felt amazing. And the whole time, my legs never gave out. And after, they never gave out. And I don't remember now the last time that I got up and put my feet in ice cold water. I don't take painkillers. I don't do anything. I pretty much live a great life without any drugs to make me feel better. I proactively think about my life, and it didn't hit me until I did that run. It was like, wow. If it wasn't for this long-term commitment to something of restoration of my body, where would I be now? I'm now almost 40, and I'm at the best state I've ever been in. And that's why I know that if you restore the brain-to-body function, that your body will be at its optimal self. It's the power of the chiropractic adjustment, and the principles of time, and all the 33 principles all have a state in our lives. It's just how are you going to use them, and how are you going to pay attention. And Dr. Holtrip would say it's above C1. And it really is above C1. If you can't mentally and physically think about where you're at and have the faith in the human body and what it can do when you remove interference, you're not going to be able to get the healing state that you need.
Absolutely. And that's amazing.
And that's why I have the feeling, that's why I believe in chiropractic. That's why I know chiropractic is good for everybody, and everyone should have it.
Exactly.
Because I personally lived it.
That is an amazing personal testimony for sure. Yeah. And so, like you kind of funnel and take this inspired and passionate passion for chiropractic to reach out and help and consult a lot of chiropractors as well as chiropractic assistants as well too. So what do you find are some subluxations above C1 that you encounter with chiropractors and chiropractic assistants?
Well, since we're being honest, as always, I believe the above C1 aspect has a lot to do with our natural human state. Mm-hmm. We're brought up in this world thinking one way. We're brought up in a medical model. And I don't believe that anyone's at fault for that. We're not told about things that are bigger than us. We're told about it, but I don't even know if we acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. Back when we're in grade school, we're told about the brain and the body connection. What's your number one important organ in your body? And how do you function? Your brain. If chiropractors really sat down and thought about their brain-to-body connection as they always talk about, mm-hmm. I believe that they'd be able to function with their patients a lot better. Yeah. But we end up thinking with our educated mind, like DJ Palmer always says, you have the educated mind, you have the innate mind. Mm-hmm. If you think with your educated mind too much, and you start getting in depth with science and diagnosing and everything else, and you're not thinking about the innate mind and your body's ability to do what it needs to do, the inborn know-how, you end up losing yourself. We often find ourselves with most chiropractors and even chiropractic assistants, I see with insurance, we allow insurance to override, and we allow the quick fix mentality. We want everything done now. We have an ADH headspace. It's nuts. If you have something in your practice that needs to be fixed, if you have something that isn't working, it isn't going to be done overnight. You have to work on it. It's just like your patients and their care plans. And I tell a lot of my clients and anyone I'm with, you need to really think about the bigger picture. Your chiropractic home is just like a body. It has a lot of different organs and things going on, and things are not going to be fixed overnight. It's going to take time. So the headspace and where you're at and acknowledging, yeah, this isn't overnight, and what can I do to fix it or adjust it or rejuvenate it in a good manner that it'll stay and establish.
You know, I always find it's amazing how universal intelligence and like universal principles kind of hold true in all different areas of life, you know, where, you know, you're kind of, you know, in your personal versus your professional and stuff like that. So I think that's really, really sound advice for sure. And,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and lastly, what would be your greatest advice for a chiropractic student?
The chiropractic students, I want to empower them to think a little bigger. I know that you're coming off of a lot of things that you're being told that you have to learn. And you do. You have to get an education, and you're going to be a doctor, and you're as important as the title. But there's so much more. You have to be able to take what you've learned, and a lot of what you're learning is the whole science. They're jamming science down, doctors. Am I right?
Exactly.
Okay. There is more philosophy that you need to embrace. Philosophy and technique. If a doctor can master his technique, I'll tell you, any one of my friends who go to a chiropractor, they will say, he was a good adjuster, he was a light adjuster, he took time with me, he listened to me. If you can master that and own it, with the science and everything else is going to be nothing. You can be a complete science head, but if you're not going to master the philosophy of what you're doing within your practice, and then your technique and your art, you're going to be lost. Because your art and why you're doing it is going to matter outside of anything else. Because DJ Palmer does say in almost any book that you read that we lose ourselves in the whole diagnosing thing. Reading, I have the 3 generations here, and I was looking at it before I started, and up from the below the bottom, and if you read in any of the books that you grab, it's crazy how he points out that when we get stuck with the diagnosing and the therapies and anything else from outside in, we lose our whole purpose of chiropractic. And I'm not saying, because I'm a chiropractic tech, and I'm going to tell you, I'm trained in x-rays, and I develop them. I've been taught by doctors to look at them for contraindications and what needs to be known, and I know everything about therapies. I have a license in the state of Wisconsin, and it's all about warming and relaxing and getting people to where they need to be at a comfortable state. But that is not the bigger picture. And the people want to know it. They want to know it. It's how to deliver it and give it to them. That's what you have to master, the confidence of it. The listening, the understanding, and the confidence.
That is huge, huge advice, especially coming from yesterday with all the board scores coming out. I completely agree. You know, like one of the things I like to tell students is creating a parallel curriculum on top of the science, but definitely studying the art and the philosophy on top of it, which, you know, I realize there's only 24 hours of the day, but you know what?
No.
Chiropractic needs to be in you, not just people being in chiropractic. So
yeah, we can. I mean, the patients want to know. People get a drive out of that. If you look at it, everybody wants to be diagnosed with something. I don't know if that's right or not. I don't want to be diagnosed with anything. But outside of that, once you get them to the fact of understanding why they're there, yes, I agree with that, but that's not where we're going to focus here, and you give them, you sympathize with them, it's the bigger picture past that. If you want lifelong patients and someone to be, or practice members to be be part of what we have, it isn't about that symptom base at all. And that's what they teach us in the schools. And you have to move past that. You have to be comfortable with moving past that, not scared of that at all.
Exactly. Well, Dana, thank you so much for sharing your light with us today. If you want more information or want to connect with Dana directly, check out the links below. Every week I will be uploading a new interview with another leader in the chiropractic profession. If you like this video, please share with your classmates. Give this video a thumbs up or 5. And subscribe to this YouTube channel. My name is Dave Tran, and this was Lux TV, shedding and spreading light for the chiropractic student.
Thank you.